Is there supposed to be a certain protocol for people to check in?
No, and I begin with me, and then he can speak, and they can speak for the other generation. But I'm a never, you know what I mean? We don't have time for no sucker shit like that.
Looks like 50 Cent just lit a match and tossed it into a room full of gas. The beef with Jay Prince and the Supreme team, way deeper than folks thought. At first, everybody assumed it was just another ego battle. 50 refusing to check in, Jay Prince feeling disrespected. Classic stuff, right? But nah, this thing runs way deeper. Now 50 is spilling tea that sounds more like a full-blown plot than a simple rap feud. And he's naming names. And here's the shocker. The people involved? Wild. Supreme's own son, Rick Ross. All allegedly in the mix. And if what 50's saying is even half true, then this might explain why he ghosted out of Houston so fast. Let's rewind it. Everything popped off in Houston, Jay Prince's territory. That city? He runs it like a CEO runs a company. When artists pull up, they're expected to check in, supposed to be a respect thing. But a lot of folks see it as a straight-up shakedown. And even those who do check in still end up in hot messes. When 50 moved to Houston, Jay Prince expected that same check-in. But 50, he wasn't having it. He made it real clear he didn't know anybody anything.
Oh, the reason, but what is the reason why you moved to Houston?
Well, look, first of all, like every time I've experienced Houston, like when I was out here, I ran into random acts of kindness. Like the people have been good to me. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of the places that I'm like, man, or maybe Houston, like Houston or Miami popped into my head. Mm-hmm. They said 58%. I said, what? You my partner? The IRS is my partner now? Oh, no. All you get is a Yankee hat? I'm going to Houston.
He had his own money, his own security, his own rules. He wasn't about to play by anyone else's street codes. And for Jay Prince, that was a straight-up slap in the face. And this wasn't no short trip. 50 was trying to put down roots. He even tweeted, I love New York, but I live in Houston now. Everyone thought it was for the tax break. Smart move, sure, but there was more behind that move. He had major plans. A $20 million G-Unit film studio, booze brands, community outreach. He was planting his flag, boss style. But here's the problem. He did all that on Jay Prince's turf. No check-in, no heads up, no respect to the so-called gatekeepers. So of course the streets started buzzing. Word spread that some folks weren't too happy. Doors were being shut, eyes were on him. Some even claimed certain crews were just waiting for him to slip. Still, 50 didn't fold. He stood tall. In his eyes, all this check-in talk was just street slang for extortion. And honestly, he might be onto something. Takeoff checked in, still ended up gone. Jacob the jeweler got cornered. Zach TV tried to lay low, still got hit. So from 50's point of view, that whole pay for protection game was a total scam. And if you've survived the stuff he survived, you don't scare easy. But then, like out of nowhere, 50 packed up and dipped, quietly shut down the Houston Film Project, shifted everything to Shreveport, Louisiana, didn't make a big scene, just moved like a ghost. But the message was loud. In an interview, he dropped one line that said it all. Houston didn't embrace me the way I expected. Translation, he didn't feel safe. And while all that was unfolding, he was still being honored. He was named Grand Marshal for the Thanksgiving Parade. They even made November 24th 50 Cent Day in Houston. The mayor loved him. The city clapped for him. But one man wasn't clapping, Jay Prince. Behind closed doors, insiders said Jay was fuming.
Supposed to be a certain protocol for people to check in?
No, and I begin with me, and then he can speak, and they can speak for the other generation. But I'm a never, you know what I mean? We don't have time for no sucker shit like that.
From his angle, 50 had way too much shine, way too much power, and he didn't pay homage. It wasn't about clout anymore. It was about control. And 50 wasn't giving that up to nobody. Then Supreme McGriff's name crept back into the picture, and that's when it got real serious. Back in the early 2000s, 50 got hit 9 times. A lot of people believe Supreme's crew was behind it. That's why 50 dropped the Ghetto Quran. He named names, told stories, and Supreme was front and center. Some folks said it crossed a line. That wasn't just music, it was dry snitching. Supreme didn't let that slide. While 50 survived and blew up, Supreme got locked up for life. But he never folded, stayed solid. That earned him major street respect. Meanwhile, 50 used that whole saga, the shooting, the drama, and turned it into money. albums, interviews, movies. He flipped a pain into profit. But Supreme, he remembered everything. Then enters Irv Gotti, tight with Supreme. They weren't just friends, they were basically family. Irv helped fund Supreme's legal fight. He stayed loyal no matter what. And 50, he crushed Irv's label. Murder Inc. was left in ashes, took out Ja Rule, took their whole empire down. And even after Irv passed, 50 still threw jabs. He posted a pic of himself smoking hookah next to a fake tombstone, captioned, "I'm smoking on that Gotti pack."
So today, we have the honor of saying to him, he's our 2022 Grand Marshal. Give it up to Curtis 50 Jackson.
May God bless him, lol. Wild. And the day before Irv died, 50 wrote, "Damn, I wanted him to see my new shows, you." Cold-blooded. That did not sit right with Supreme's son, McGriff Jr. He snapped online saying, "If I said I was smoking on your mother or your grandfather, y'all would tell me I'm wrong, right?" He called 50 a clown. Said, "Y'all really love this clown. I'll always give the same energy." For him, disrespecting Irv was like spitting on family. Then came the cryptic posts. 50 started dropping hints, talking about snakes in the grass, enemies pretending to be friends, people plotting behind his back. Then, boom, he allegedly leaked convos between Jay Prince's circle and Supreme's son. Word is, they were discussing ways to pressure 50, maybe even set him up. He didn't keep it quiet. He threw it in the open. He even trolled Jay Prince online, daring him to show up. And just when the tension was at its peak, Rick Ross entered the chat. Ross and 50 been beefing forever. Lawsuits, baby mama drama.
No, I have the resilience to go against anybody. Like, there's nobody that's too ill. Those are the guys that you would choose not to go against at that point. It's in the environment.
Disses back and forth. No love lost. But Ross just popped up hanging with folks tied to Supreme's crew. Coincidence? Maybe. But to 50, that looked like a straight-up link-up. Imagine that. Your enemy chilling with the son of the guy who tried to end you. That wasn't a photo op. That was a warning. Now the whispers are saying it's deeper than petty. That meeting might have been the beginning of a bigger setup. Sources say Supreme Jr. is done playing games, especially after 50's constant disrespect toward Irv. Add Jay Prince to the mix, things just hit a whole new level of dangerous. Prince ain't just mad because 50 didn't check in. Word is, he's trying to make an example out of him. If 50 gets away with disrespecting the street code, what's to stop other rappers from doing the same? That check-in culture, it's built on fear and power, and 50's shaking the whole system.
But here's the part that should have everybody watching their back. When you really look at Jay Prince's background, it's not music biz, it's real street history. This man's roots go deep. And we're not talking rumors from the barbershop. This stuff had the feds watching. Back in the late 80s, Jay Prince's name was already showing up in federal files. The streets were buzzing.
It's for you, man.
Sweet.
You're the only one in Miami with that, baby.
You know see what it is.
You know the vibes.
See what it is.
Yeah.
Warming up, 2024.
Word was he had ties running from the cartels in Mexico all the way through Texas, Louisiana, and even into Chicago. This wasn't some local trap hustle. We're talking organized, global, and serious. And then came the game changer, the alleged link-up with Larry Hoover, the legendary founder of the Gangster Disciples. That connection? It changed everything. Suddenly, there was a full-blown pipeline from Houston to the Midwest, and guess who was right in the middle of it? Jay Prince. He wasn't playing street games, he was building a network. Around that same time, Rap-A-Lot Records came on the scene. On paper, a label meant to spotlight Houston talent, but in the streets, people were whispering that it was a front, a way to flip dirty money into clean paper. And the feds? Oh, they were watching closely. They started tailing drivers, tapping phones, tracking shipments, the whole nine. They built a heavy case. By 1988, the DEA was locked in. Investigations were heating up, pressure was on, and it looked like Jay Prince's empire might be crumbling. But then...
It was the idea of my father, seeing that it was connections to Drake and Kanye, and that they were such iconic figures, and with them going through things.
Poof, just like that, the case disappeared. By the late 90s, the U.S. Attorney General shut it all down. No charges, no trial, no headlines, just straight up silence. Now, let's be real. That doesn't happen unless you've got serious power behind the scenes. And that's exactly why 50 Cent might be walking on dangerous ground. He's not just feuding with another rapper, he's stepping into a legacy of deep connections and untouchable figures who've been operating in the shadows for decades. So now the question is 50 being paranoid? Or is he just the first one bold enough to say it out loud? Is there really a setup forming behind the curtains? Or is this just high-stakes chess between two powerhouses? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear what y'all think. Smash that like button, share the video with your crew, and subscribe to the channel with notifications on. Because if this situation keeps boiling over, we'll be right here bringing you the real story.